RBL Weekly, back on the air. The commissioner of the Roast Battle League, Pat Barker, joined this week by a special guest host, the current Los Angeles main event champion, Kelsey Lane.
Oh my gosh. Hey!
The champ is here.
Yep.
All right. She is on fire early. She's saving the good shit for her title match on May 30th. We're going to get into the top 5 battles of the week momentarily. But you are on an incredible run. I have to ask you about this because you started out in Roast Battle. I feel like you were, I don't know, like 7-7. Like you were good, but maybe a little inconsistent. And then you've just been on this insane run, including a tournament where I don't think you went in as a favorite. You ran the table. You beat everybody. Went against the champion, Omid Singh, one of the best records in the history of the sport, and you beat him. You are pretty much unstoppable. Defended the title already against Sarah Keller, my normal co-host. Shout out to Sarah. We'll see you back next week. What changed? What was the thing that clicked where all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm a monster at this?
I mean, I don't think I've ever looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, you're a monster. But I think like, also, maybe not everyone's favorite, not Pat's favorite, but money would not have been on me. But I think it's just like the consistency of writing a lot strengthens the muscle and then keeps the muscle like strong. Like I think, and I think a lot of people still like perceptions are one of the hardest things to fight ever. And you have this perception of you like, oh, like she's not that strong of a battler or whatever. But I think what people forget about is like people grow and the more experience you have, the stronger you get. So I think like not only the experience from battling consistently, but also like I was judging No Llores, like Digits' show. And that was like strengthening my muscle every week. So it was like Tuesdays going to the Comedy Store and then Wednesdays going to No Llores was like strengthening this roasting muscle in me that could have like was laying dormant for like most of 2020, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But I don't think like, I don't think that I'm better or worse than literally anybody that I battled. I think they're all incredible comedians and incredible roasters. And if any one word was changed or if I didn't, do this or they didn't do that, anybody could have won. Like
you don't have to do that. Fuck them,
No,
dude. She kicked their asses. No. We don't do that humble shit here on RBL Weekly.
I think it really could be anybody sitting here because I'm like obsessed with Roast Battle. Like one of the coolest moments ever was when I started writing for the Roast Report, and it was like so cool because I was like, oh cool, like they're like asking me to do this thing that I love doing, and like I had so much fun. Like I would roast the one person battling, then I would roast the other person battling, and then I would like make up ways that they met or like what they were battling about, and it was so much fun, and I got like so imaginative in that, and then I started growing. So I went from like being really bad, and that's the hard thing, right? That's the hard thing about stand-up. That's the hard thing about Roast Battle. You have to start really bad because you've never done this thing before, right? It's like...
There's a learning curve for sure.
Right.
And the Roast Report, for those of you who don't know, was back in the day before this was a worldwide thing, and we were just doing it in LA, we had a website that nobody looked at except for the battlers. There was no reason for it to exist. And there was a group of maybe like 8 to 10 of us that would take turns writing the preview and then the recap of the week. And like, I remember sitting there and like transcribing jokes that I had recorded on my phone. I had to hit pause and like type out like, oh, this person called this person a fat motherfucker, and then play. And then like, but we would write thousands of words every week for the entertainment of nobody but ourselves, but it kind of like legitimized it as like this cool thing that we were doing. Yeah. And yeah, you were a part of that, and it makes sense judging the other battles. That's one of the things now, like when I was doing it, there were no secondary shows. It was just Roast Battle. And now pretty much any night of the week in LA, I feel like you can go see a battle somewhere, which is like crazy. So, all right, that's how you got to this point. Now here's where you're at now. 3 weeks roughly from today, you're going to be defending the title against Doug Fager. Doug, one of the longtime, ambassadors of the sport, been in it since 2013, since the very beginning, never had a title shot. Are you confident? Are you nervous? What's the strategy? Talk to me.
Obviously, I'm nervous. I don't want to like lose it. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to like keep it, but I mean at the same time, like it is what it is. Like I said, I think anything could happen. I think like I would say if we're not evenly matched, Doug is a stronger opponent than I am, but at the same time, like literally anything could happen. If he fumbles on a word, like, okay, cool, then maybe I have the upper hand then. Maybe I don't. I don't know.
You heard it here first. She thinks he's going to fumble on a word. She thinks he doesn't know what he's doing in there.
You see what happens.
I'm going to kick his fucking ass, dude.
Words are hard.
Yeah, that's a fact. Well, it's going to be a great match. I'm looking forward to it. A little breaking down the fourth wall here. It is currently Mother's Day. I left my wife at home while I came here to do this, and my beloved 76ers are in Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. So we are going to tear through this episode. Kelsey, I need you to keep all your responses from now on to 3 words or less. Is that cool?
Okay, yeah.
All right. No, I'm kidding, but I'm excited to have you here. Excited to have you see some of the worldwide battles we have this week. And we're going to start in Barcelona for the number 5 battle this week. Number 5 was hotly contested. There were a lot of cities that submitted really good, fun battles, including the Bay Area, including Denver. Ultimately, this one has kind of a bizarre twist that I really enjoyed, and I want to get your opinion on it. I feel like I should explain it ahead of time. So there's 2 improvisers, and right away, gross. Right? Improv people coming into our world, disgusting. We all hate it. Let's get that out of the way. But one of them did an interesting thing, and apparently this is an improv thing where you familiar with the bell?
Explain it.
So apparently in improv, you're improvising a scene and you tell a joke, which a lot of improv I've seen, they don't do that. They don't tell jokes. But you tell a joke and then somebody rings a bell and then you have to come up with a secondary punchline.
Okay.
And then they ring it again, you got to come up with a third. And then when they go ding, 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 that's the winner. So this, the one guy actually incorporated that into his set, which is interesting. I have to explain it because otherwise you'll be like, what is happening here? This is the number 5 battle this week from Barcelona. This is Noah Levin versus Michael Parry. Let's check it out.
Michael, it is lovely to be on stage with you, and in these bright lights, I can show you this is where you grow the rest of your beard. Now, despite looking like a sickly Victorian street urchin, Michael is actually quite popular with the ladies. He has had an open marriage, a closed divorce, and a string of lovely ladies that he has left in his past. But has a wonderful girlfriend right now, and can I announce this? Is this okay? The proceeds of tonight's show are going to her STD treatments. So, bravo to all of you!
Yeah. I'm not used to you being this funny. Good improvisers are trained to say yes and. That's the rule. So when Noah's hairdresser asked if he'd like to look like a pervy uncle from a 90s sitcom, he said yes, and I'll buy the shoes to match. He said, yes, and I'll get the beard to match. He said, yes, and I'll spend all my time in a basement, which I call the clubhouse.
That improv stuff actually works for you. It's really awesome. This is strange for us because we are primarily improvisers, not stand-up comedians, which has got to hurt for every stand-up comedian that did not get asked to be on this show tonight. But what you can take solace in is that no matter what, you will see an improviser lose the battle tonight. So don't worry, you are going to have to see an improviser win, though. So I'm sorry about that. But you already won a roast battle, right? You beat your girlfriend in a roast battle. Where's the camera? So Michael Perry beat his girlfriend in a roast battle. Michael Perry beat his girlfriend in a roast battle. Wow, Michael Perry. Wow, I can't believe I'm on the same stage as you. He attacked his girlfriend with words and beat her in front of an audience. Amazing.
That
Viral clip.
that joke was longer than your workshop handouts. Please read this before the lesson.
Sorry that I prepare things.
Noah has had like 30 different jobs, and he never holds down a job for longer than 2 years. So we can make the surprising mathematical deduction that he's less than 60 years old. Yeah. No, I defend my maths joke. I thought it was a good maths joke.
People love math. They love math and maths. Oh, is it my turn? I'm sorry, I didn't know when the end of that joke was.
Some people make snappy jokes.
Now, I know that this lily white English gentleman here looks whiter than the paper that a trust fund is written on. But he is actually half Guyanese. Yeah, his mother's from Guyana, which means I get to pull out my favorite Guyana jokes. Oh, yeah. Like, yo mama is so fat, probably because she eats a diet consisting of cassava, sweet potatoes, and a variety of tropical fruits. But, she's not going to be lonely being so big, because Guyana is home of the arapaima, the world's largest scaled freshwater fish. Not to mention the giant otter and the giant anteater, the world's largest anteater. Ooh. Your country is so unoriginal, the only name they could come up with for a giant anteater is the giant anteater.
Your mama's so rich and Jewish, she must be very disappointed in you. Yeah. No, it's nice to be here. Since he was my first improv teacher, Noah did teach me everything I know, which is why we're both wearing the same watch. Huh? Which is why we're both dating Russian women who are much more attractive than us.
Your choice.
Which is why neither of us make any money doing improv.
Yeah.
You pay for my classes. Michael shouldn't even be alive right now. I am not saying that in an insulting way. He is allergic to all nuts, seeds, tropical fruit, all seafood, and arugula. The boy can't handle spicy lettuce. It is infuriating that I could be doing a better job in this roast battle if I was a cashew.
Sorry, I'm allergic to bad jokes. Jesus.
He's calling you out, audience, because you liked that joke.
This is a true fact. Noah once played, while teaching a workshop, a 3-minute audio clip from a history podcast. He teaches like a nearly retired guy with a VHS player. Like, with a lesson planned that bad, he should probably just learn to improvise.
Give him a little more than that. Come on. As Michael said, we are both improvisers. We both have great taste in watches. We're both dating Russians. We're both divorced. We both moved to Barcelona. You stole my whole shtick and just added an English accent. This is not the British Museum. You can't just take it for yourself.
Noah used to teach theater at a Jewish summer camp, which explains why he thinks he can charge so much for classes. Which explains why Paul Rudd can't act. Haven't Jewish children suffered enough at camps, Noah? You monster!
All right, so that was the number 5 battle this week. What I like to call a flawed battle. Not front to back bangers, but a lot of the stuff hit for me, and there were some interesting angles, and I respect that as somebody who's seen a billion roast battles. Anybody who attempts something outside of the box, I respect, and they both did some things like that. Before we get into any of that, what are your overall thoughts? What do you think?
I thought it was so interesting that the bell to me was so interesting because how many times have you battled someone and you've written like 15 punchlines for the same setup?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they did the bell and you could do all the other punchlines that you didn't? The goal would be that the third punchline would definitely be the strongest.
And see, that's the thing. The bell was a really intriguing idea that I don't feel like was executed perfectly every time, because the punchlines have to be, number one, you can't change the setup at all.
Right.
And number two, the punchlines have to be like snappy, and you want it to be progressively bam, bam, bam. And get stronger kind of as they go. And I feel like he didn't exactly nail it every time, but I really respect the attempt.
Right. Because that would be a challenging, right? Because if you'd want to go with your strongest punchline just in case you didn't get the bell.
Well, I think he knew. If you saw the times that the bell was utilized, he told the joke and then looked at the guy with the bell.
Oh, okay.
So I can't give him the improv points of like, wow, he was just coming up with those extra punchlines. He knew when the bell was going to be used.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Not to break down the pro wrestling, it's all fake. But I think in this case, that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I liked even Noah, who I thought was more consistent and like landed more punches. He took some risks too, like the fucking. I love the weird facts about Guyana. When he was like, "Your mother hangs out with the largest freshwater fish." To me, that shit's funny, and like sometimes you have to just like. I like a lot of different styles of battle. I like the aggressive personal shit, and then sometimes I just like the silly yeah stuff.
Yeah.
I thought Noah took the battle overall. What did you think? What was the standout to you?
He was the guy on the left with the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
And he also like he called out the fact that the stand-ups would hate that they were both improvisers. And then he used it such a fun way where he said, so the good news is an improviser will lose tonight.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's knowing who's watching you, how they feel about, like, having an awareness about that. And then, like doing it to kind of, like, roast yourself, too. I thought it was interesting.
He was walking a tightrope on that one, though. Because he's like, yeah, we're two improvisers. That has to hurt for all the comedians who can't get booked on the show. And you and I both went, oh, gross. Stop. What? Yeah, because I just imagining a stand-up, like, yeah, what the fuck? But, I mean, they backed it up. It was actually funny, which makes me think, like, what if improv, they actually didn't improvise and just, like, wrote shit ahead of time?
Yeah.
I guess that's called sketch. But that would be better. But I love the risk that they took. I thought it was a little bit long-winded at points, but I think in a way that's part of the charm. I don't think you could take the risks while at the same time adhering to the 3.5 minute long, 4 minute long 5-joke battle. So you take the good with the bad. Again, enjoying what I see out of Barcelona. Again, comedy is misspelled on your sign. You have to fix that. I know this is from the same show. You haven't had a chance since last week when I first pointed it out. But for the love of God, please remake the sign with comedy spelled correctly. It's destroying me. I don't know if it's my ADHD or what, but did you notice that?
No.
Oh my God.
I started getting, but I also do have ADHD, and I started losing focus when we started talking about anteaters. I was like,
oh, the anteater punch was the best of the whole battle.
oh, really?
Yeah, it was so good. Really, really good. And shout out to Michael for playing it the smart way and closing on a Holocaust joke. When in doubt,
Holocaust it out.
Yeah, always works every time. All right, let's go to number 4. We're going to come back stateside. And this is a city that was, ranked 4th in the standings in the U.S. coming into today. They put some points on the board here. This is New York City. featuring one of our old favorites from the Belly Room, Robbie Goodwin.
Oh, hey.
Who he's out in New York now, and he's going up against Dave Sheehan, and they had a pretty good battle. Let's check it out.
Which one of you tall gentlemen is going first?
You talking about the battle?
Yeah, dude.
Classic. Classic.
We'll see. Nah, it's gonna be good. Okay, Bomb, this is a Dan Wicks fiasco. No Bomb said a Dan Wicks fiasco. We don't even know this about his fiascos.
Robbie, you're first. There's a fiasco. 5 jokes.
All right. Give it up for Walter White Power. You look like a pedophile and the baby he fucked.
I am psyched to be here tonight roasting the star of the hit movie Cocaine Bear. Robbie Goodwin, you walking dormitory laundry rack. You look like Charlie Day if the show was called It's Always Sucky in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Dave says he likes to mentor children, which must be tough when legally you have to be 100 feet away from them at all times.
Robbie has never owned a suitcase. He carries all his stuff around in the bags under his eyes. He told me he once worked as an intern at Comedy Central, which really just means he spent several awkward hours sitting in Louis C.K.'s hotel room.
Hey, promise me a check spot, all right? Come on, just fucking sit there, you fucking cunt. All right. Thank you, Earthworm Jim Parsons. You look like Mr. Clean. Up the evidence. The police are looking for this child.
Thank you, Aaron Carter's ghost.
I drowned in a bathtub.
Robbie's hairstylist is his leaf blower. And his nickname is Flintstone's Vitamins because of all the time he has spent sliding down children's throats.
You wish my leaf blower was your stylist, bitch. You got no hair. All right. Thank you, American History Extra Chromosome. You're like if Dr. Evil built his lair on Epstein Island.
Robbie has 4 different chloroform suppliers. And whenever he sees an attractive girl at the bar, his pickup lines always begin with the same 4 words. Here's what's gonna happen.
Besides the chloroform, that's shockingly accurate. I'm a little intense. Here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna go to Dave & Buster's. We're gonna have a nice time. What do you think? Dave practices martial arts. He's working to finally get enough belts to hang himself with.
Thank you, Meth MacFarlane.
I love meth.
Robbie looks like the final boss if the Joe Rogan podcast was a video game.
All right, great. So number 4 battle this week, Robbie Goodwin versus Dave Sheehan from New York. Interesting sort of juxtaposition to the first battle from Barcelona. Completely different in literally every way. I thought entertaining. What were your overall thoughts? Anything jump out at you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really, really good back and forth battle between a med student and the cadaver he operates on. But I thought, like really, really solid back and forths. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I thought it was a little paint by numbers, if I'm going to be honest. Coming off of a battle where they're trying to reinvent the wheel and do some things that we haven't seen before, and it's not entirely landing, but some of it is. This one was very, like, roast battle classics. Like, right away, Walter White Power, and you're not allowed within 100 feet of a school, and
American
you
History
look like,
Extra Chromosome.
yeah, and you look like the pedophile and the kid he's fucking.
Right.
And, like, it hit a lot of the classic roast battle. They both called each other pedophiles at one point. white guys. That's a staple. I thought there were a lot of really good moments outside of the obvious jokes. I think that was my biggest, not disappointment, but the thing that kept this battle from being really good, because it was a hot crowd and a lot of the stuff really hit. But just those moments where you're like, especially like Robbie and Dave, who have been around doing this forever, it's like, you guys know that this joke has been done, or at least that kind of like format. But the stuff where they stepped outside of the box a little bit, I thought hit really, really hard. I thought they both finished really strong. Here's what's gonna happen, like, to me was great. Robbie's ad lib off the cuff shit, really entertaining. But yeah, I didn't think it was either of their strongest efforts, like from a writing perspective.
Yeah. Also the thing for me is like the phone, because it's like you can memorize the joke. I mean, I don't know. You can memorize them if you really wanted to. To me, it kind of felt like phoning it in almost. Like like I know this is the stuff that's gonna work, and like so I'm just gonna go with what I know is gonna work instead of like, taking a risk in something that like may or may not.
But that's an interesting thing, because when you've been doing it for a while, when was your first battle? What year? Any idea? 15, 16, something like that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but you've been doing it for a while. You're 30-some battles in, right? Have you had a battle like that where you're like, I'm just going to phone this one in. I'm just not feeling it? Because that can be hard to fight. We all have lives. We all have other shit going on, right?
Yeah. I think sometimes I'll come up with something that I'm like, okay, this is like borderline hacky, but I like really like it for some reason. Like for some reason, like this little extra hit. So if you were like to say like Walter, what was one of the ones that
Walter
was like,
White Power.
Right. If you were saying like Walter White Power, but in a Denny's or something, whatever, like adding something else that's like, oh, like I like that taking this thing that's been done, but then like adding this other element in is actually making me laugh. So I like don't mind going there for a moment.
You know what's funny about the Walter White Power? When he did that one, I was kind of like, because I think I'm kind of over the thank you pun thing in general.
Yeah.
But then he hit Earthworm Jim Parsons, which is like a top 10 one of those of all time.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, I'm back in. Just
I know.
when I think about, he pulls me back in.
I know.
And Robbie's a veteran of the game. Robbie was a guy who I think he was undefeated in LA. He was like 9-0. And then he left and he moved, and he's still doing it out there. I was out there. I saw him in March. We judged the roast battle out there together. Robbie, one of the best, one of the vets, lost this one. Dave picked up the win.
Interesting.
I think it was the strength of his last couple jokes. The Joe Rogan thing at the end hit hard too. So great stuff. New York picking up some points. They, in the process, have leapfrogged a couple of the teams ahead of them, including Austin, the Bay Area, and Chicago. So New York jumps to the top of that. Still TBD on whether or not LA can make a move on today's episode. We'll find out. Let's call that foreshadowing. Let's go back internationally right now to London. This is a very, very, very interesting battle. London ran their annual knockout tournament, and the knockout tournament is a really interesting structure. 12 battlers, one night. 12 becomes 6, 6 becomes 3, and then the final 3 enter in almost like a WWE triple threat match type of situation. They each get one shot at their other 2 opponents to throw a knockout punch. Whoever they determine lands the most is their yearly champion, and this is the finals. Each of these battlers won 2 fights earlier in the night to even make it to this point. Excellent work to everybody involved. This is the finals, and then we have a little bonus footage coming up. This is Shalaka Kurup against Steph Aratone against Duffy Connors. Here it is.
Big round of applause. Here we
Come on, Steph.
I realise that this looks like a woke remake of The Hobbits Going to Isengard. This is Shalaka, and I think it's quite brave that she keeps telling people that she has a PhD. Medical term, pretty hairy pussy disease. And this is Duffy. I didn't write much for Duffy because I didn't think he'd get this far. But this is a genuine story. I did once see him outside Lewisham Station working as a flyerer for a gym. that's the joke. I think they got more cancellations that day. So that's me. Thank you.
This is Steph. She donated her eggs because no one was willing to buy or even rent them. Shalaka claims to do pole dancing to keep fit. Yeah, and I suck cock for the protein.
This is Steph. She's such a basic bitch. She buys her contraception from Claire's Accessories. And she's currently worried about the cost of live, laugh, loving crisis. This homeless toilet brush is Duffy. Duffy looks like he makes his own condoms by skinning stray cats.
Okay, so that was number 3 this week, London. Frankly, I had no idea where to place it. It's unlike anything that we've seen, but I find it very intriguing. Congratulations to Shalaka Kurup, who is the 2023 London Knockout Tournament champion. That's a big night. Writing for 11 potential opponents in one night, even if the people on the other side of the bracket, you just need 1 or 2 jokes, that's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
And this is the one time where I will never give anybody shit for being on their phone or paper, whatever you need to do to get through it. And frankly, I thought the jokes were so good considering that everyone, like the idea that you're going to make it to the final, obviously you're going to spend more time writing for the first round because you know you're going to get to say those jokes. I thought the fact that they still had anything in the tank at the end was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of preparation for something that just may or may not happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess on the one hand, it's like if, we had a similar thing here and I wrote jokes about you I really liked, then I could be like, hey, let's just do another battle. So
right.
You could still use them, but it is a lot of prep that goes into it. Having to write all these jokes and then try to memorize them because even if you can refer to your notes, you don't want to be like reading them off the phone for the first time.
Right.
Just an absolutely crazy test of endurance. Do you agree with the judge's decision? You had Shalaka taking that?
Absolutely. Homeless toilet brush killed me.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. And the way that, Steph led into her Duffy thing, I didn't write much for Duffy because I didn't expect him to be here.
That was great.
And then his shit was great. I thought it was really close between those first 2, and then Shalaka just kind of knocked it out of the park at the end there. What would be your strategy if you had a similar thing for that? Would you try to split your time evenly across the 11 people or put all your focus on your first opponent? What do you think?
I think I would probably do looks like jokes for everyone and then go in and do like a deeper dive on the people that I was actually battling the initial rounds. Yeah. Because look like jokes, those are the ones that people really respond to, I feel like, the most anyways. What would your strategy?
I don't know. I have no idea. You're the champ. You tell me. That's why we have the champ on, so I don't have to come up with my own stuff. But I did want to get, I also wanted to get your opinion on this because anything outside of a standard one-on-one battle, I'm intrigued by the idea of it. We've tried a few tag team battles in LA, almost universally failures across the board. There's been one decent one that I've ever seen. The other ones, no matter the level of talent, no matter how good the people involved are, it's always bad. So I want that to work, and we've talked about. Were you aware of like the Rumble we were gonna do right before the pandemic hit? It was like me and Robin Tran and Keith Carey and Digits, and it was gonna be like 6 people. We all draw numbers 1 through 6, like the day of the show, and then one faces 2, and then immediately after the winner has to face 3, and then the winner of that has to face 4, and then whoever wins the whole thing. So I'm thinking about bringing something like that back, but is that something that's like interesting to you? Is that something you think would be cool, or you're just like one-on-one? Let's stick with the classic.
No, I love Well, okay, so first of all, I have a question for you. Do you think that this show needs something new, something like a one-off, like interesting thing, or you think it's just like, I'm going to flip it on you first, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth trying. I don't think it needs anything. I think, and we have, a battle coming up later. I won't spoil it, but I think every now and then you see a battle, and we saw one this week that restores your sort of like love for the show. You're like, oh, it feels like the old days and everything like that. So I don't think it needs necessarily that, but I think that it can't hurt to try. Worst case scenario, it's awful, and we're still talking about it on a podcast like 6 years later, like the tag team match. So yeah, I think it's worth trying. I would like to give it a shot at some point.
Absolutely, because I think like I agree with you. I think like it would be interesting to see what that would feel like, and I think that like an audience really gets off on this idea of this is the first time that they're thinking it. This is just their thought. This is live. You know what I mean? People really get off on that idea of like, this is a live show. Anything could happen. That's one of the most exciting things about Roast Battle to me is like, you don't know what the wave is going to do, anything can happen. So I think like putting the audience in this energy of this is live, this is happening right now. We don't know what they're going to say. We don't know what they're going to do. I think is exciting. And I remember I brought this idea to you. I don't know if you remember.
I probably don't.
But I brought this idea to you like a really long time ago. And this idea of like a legacy battle where you do like maybe something like a tag team where it's like the people that had like the old school battlers, like the people that have been doing it for a really long time, pair up with a newer battler. Oh. And then like they can like kind of like train the newer battlers, and then maybe something like a tag team. Okay. Where it's like, okay, like I'm paired with someone, and then they battle the other person's like mentor. Okay. And then the next one is like, the mentee and the versus mentee. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't hate that. Like, yeah. Roast Battle Legacy. Yeah. You heard it here first.
I love that. Apparently, I heard it somewhere else first, years ago, and have no recollection of it. Before we get into the number 2 battle, I did want to, as a sort of extra tribute to Shalaka, who won the tournament, that last battle, and she crushed it. But it was almost like a little half battle because they each did one joke about one person. So I did want to include, just as a little bonus battle, doesn't count as any extra points in the standings, but I wanted to show her first round battle against Luke Hall, another one of our favorites here on the show. So let's take a look at that one, and then we'll come back and we'll throw to number 2.
So this horny little Ewok is Shalaka. Shalaka's from India. She puts the Bollywood in I Bollywouldn't fuck her. And the naan in non-existent tits. There's more bra than boob there.
Speaking of India, Luke and I have a lot in common. In India, we're both average height. No? For a woman. Luke Hall, everyone, real life naked mole rat. Luke is such a feminist. Wait, no, sorry. Luke is so effeminate. He gets beaten up every time his girlfriend's football team loses.
She's a big, strong girl for a big, strong boy. Shalaka has a PhD in trains, despite never getting railed. All that knowledge will be useful, though, because she'll know exactly which make and model hits her when she finally jumps in front of one.
The only PhD that Luke has is permanent head damage. This is Luke Hall, currently transitioning from incel to lesbian. I'm good.
Cruel words from the cancerous mole I had removed last year. Shalaka is dating a white man, so even her pussy's been colonized.
He's from the north, and he's probably a miner, given how comfortable he is spending time in a toxic cave.
Luke Hall, everyone, premature baby of Justin Bieber and Ellen DeGeneres. Luke is a teetotal mummy's boy. What a fucking nerd. He doesn't drink because nothing tastes as good as mummy's milk. He doesn't smoke because nothing tastes as good as daddy's cock.
Speaking of mummy's milk, you look like you lactate mango lassie.
Even until see, that's what I'm saying. One thing can cost you the entire thing.
The mommy's milk thing?
Yeah, his last rebuttal, and then that's what the audience is left with.
Yeah, I mean it's a risk taking that shot like after the bell. I think she had it regardless. She was just outstanding the whole night. I love Luke Hall. Shout out to Luke. Shout out to Roast Battle UK, London. Amazing stuff. But this seemed like it was her night just from watching the finals. Shalaka on fire, improves her record to 6-1 or 6-2. I got to check into it, but the next time we bring out the MVP standings for the current season, I think you'll be seeing her name somewhere towards the top. Let's stay international right now and go to Scotland. Have you seen any of our Scottish battles yet?
No.
It's wild. It's a fun scene over there. And one of the guys who runs it behind the scenes is Ryan Cullen, who was featured on this show a few weeks ago for a classic battle. He had another one, and this one is also very good. The guy running things over there and hell of a battler himself in his own right. This is Ryan Cullen versus Chris Thorburn from Scotland. It's our number 2 battle this week. Check it out.
So Ryan is what's known in the industry as a one-liner comedian because that's how much cocaine it would take to kill him. Genuinely, Ryan suffers from baldness, lung problems, visual impairment, and no immune system. He's what they call in the medical industry a double negative, because this is what happens when an abortion gets aborted.
Oh Christ, Chris, you look like you're responsible for 80% of the murders in a game of Cluedo. Chris is what you'd get if you stretched smoked salmon over Freddie Mercury's skeleton. Yeah. Freddie Mercury in retrograde. Chris models himself on Freddie Mercury mostly by dying horrifically. Chris used to be a massive fan of Woody Allen. You know, even drew inspiration from him. But of course, that all changed. You know, when he found out he was just a movie director. Yeah, Chris is literally the worst ever case of a paedophile hiding in plain sight. Yeah, he looks like he's sponsored by Speedos. I don't know how he manages to look like both a virgin and a porn star at the same time. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I'm done now.
Oh, fuck. So, one time at Sydney Airport, Ryan was genuinely called in for questioning for sex trafficking. But they let him go because they couldn't figure out a fucking word he was saying. Ryan grew up on the Irish border. Ryan is basically what if the Banshees of Inisherin had even less friends.
Oh, God. It's nice of you to take time off being on the side of Pringles cans to be here. Yeah. Chris takes medication for anxiety, which is obviously a surprise to no one. Chris works for like a craft brewery, which, you know, comes as a surprise to nobody. And he's also a comedian, which does come to a surprise to everybody. Chris actually lost his virginity. When he lost his virginity, he ruined it by saying okie dokie. During it, right? Was that right after your dad was like, let's not tell mum about this? No, when Chris actually lost his virginity, he was dressed as Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. Call him Simon Pegged. Oh, fuck.
So Ryan recently failed his driving test because he kept asking questions like, right, so where do I put the bomb? That's not true. That's not true. It's because he kept calling himself Belfast and the Furious. Generally, Ryan, you look like if Vin Diesel was called that because he kept drinking petrol.
Oh, fucking hell. Chris, you look like you're operating on 80% recommended skin. It was a weird one. Chris, your forehead's so big that on it you could fit all the N-words Alfie Brown would put on a 3-minute set. Chris, you put the men in menstruate. And your teeth are so wonky they remind me of the support beams underneath Hazel Stadium. Little known fact, Ryan actually lives in Daniel Sloss's basement. It's true. In a glass terrarium with all the mice he can eat. But generally, like, what's it like squatting in a rich guy's basement? Like, you're basically like if they remade Parasite with an all-white supremacist cast. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Hey, did you forget your top hat, Monopoly Man? I do believe Chris was actually born in the wrong era, you know, probably during the AIDS epidemic in the 80s. Yeah. Despite suffering from anorexia in school, Chris ended up being a real top student, you know. He couldn't keep the books down or a meal. Chris and his wife Lynn had a horror-themed wedding, which is fitting because I've never seen a woman try to escape the ring so much. No, in fairness, it was horror that did bring them together. That was like, what, 11 years now since she crawled out of the fucking television? Is she here tonight?
No.
Good.
So several of Ryan's close friends have been rightfully cancelled. A real who's who of Me Too.
It's been so bad.
Generally, the contacts on Ryan's phone are like listed as fantastic beasts and where to find them. While Ryan is listed in his friend's phone as he who shall not be named for legal reasons. You know, because you look like if Voldemort's wand was a pipe bomb.
Oh, fucking hell. Chris is the only man the village people have ever looked at and went, bit much, mate. Chris, you were once involved in a play involving full nudity, yeah? That was the last school play I was ever allowed to direct. Look, I get it. It's a lot of pedo jokes. But I don't know how much more proof you need, along with the whole Woody Allen fan, the mustache, the dress sense, the fact that you used to work for the BBC. You're also, and if I'm right here, you also used to work for a children's entertainment company. Yeah. Like, despite the whole soft boy, fake feminist bullshit, you actually used to dress up as Batman. The film wasn't called The White Knight Rises. He used to dress up as Batman for kids' parties, but since the incident, he now is only allowed to dress up as Batman no less than 50 feet from kids' parties. Chris, the only thing you have in common with Bruce Wayne is the fact that because you're from Airdrie, there's a good chance that your parents might die in an alleyway as well. I'm done.
All right, so that was number 2 this week from Scotland, Ryan versus Chris. You asked me something off camera a little bit ago when we were between watching battles. Something about, can you tag a joke at roast battle? Is the risk worth enough versus the reward? That battle answered yes, you can tag it.
Right.
Dozens of times. This is your first Scottish battle that you've seen. This is the style over there. 8 jokes per turn, rapid fire. They just keep throwing fucking punches until eventually they run out of material. I know when I was newer to battling, I would write 50 jokes for a 5-joke battle. They do the same thing, and then they just do 10 per turn. They get them all out. There's no editing process. What'd you think?
I thought that was so interesting. First of all, I really liked how they said pedophile.
Yeah, you got a kick out of that. Have you never heard the European pronunciation of pedophile before?
I think I have, just not in a while. It's so much funnier.
It's so funny that's your main takeaway from the battle. They pronounce a word differently.
Pedophile. Okay. No, it was really, really good, and it was really interesting to see that in a different format. Because you remember the way that roast battle used to be, the main events used to be
the 3-round,
right? And the middle round was.
It was you got a minute to do as many jokes in theory as you wanted to do. Yeah, yeah. This was every turn is kind of that. But I did want to ask you, because you were talking about what happens if you have a joke that crushes and then you tag it and the tags don't hit as hard. And we saw a lot of that here. I mean, a lot of them, there were so many tags, it was kind of up and down, but you look like someone stretched smoked salmon over Freddie Mercury's skeleton is a top 5 funniest things I've ever heard.
Ever.
And if he had just stopped it there, but he tagged it with 4 more things, and then it wasn't as funny, and then it got really funny again. So did you get any clarification on your own question, which I know you asked of me, but now that you've seen it, do you think that the constant tagging ultimately improved or made the battle worse?
I like it in this format.
Yeah.
Because you can because the way that that's set up, you can continue talking about the same thing for a while. You can say Freddie Mercury, all these jokes about how he looks like Freddie Mercury in different ways.
Right.
That would be, I think, more challenging in a back and forth, because the whole thing is that person's done now. It's the other person's turn. So I don't know. I think that in this, tags absolutely worked for me.
Yeah.
But again, in a comedy store belly room.
Also, we have to take into account the quality of the comedians. This is not a knock against anybody, but I think that Ryan and Chris definitely appear to me, and Australia is much the same way. Our Australian battles have been very similar to Scotland, where it looks like really seasoned professional comedians who also happen to love the roasting and can get away with doing 6 or 7 jokes per turn. I don't think it's necessarily a style thing. I think if we brought this style to the belly room, I don't think there's a lot of people, myself included, who could do it justice the way that these guys did it. That's a lot of punchlines to connect on, and there were very, very few misses. I just want to say, while we're here, I was writing down the jokes that I really liked. I thought Chris did great. And I know you didn't get it, and I'm not totally sure I get it either, but living in a terrarium with all the mice he can eat was, to me, so fucking funny. I really enjoyed the chemistry between the two. They were laughing at each other's shit. They're clearly friends and everything. But Ryan was on another level. The guy from the Pringles cans, he called him the Okie Dokie after he lost his virginity. And then the village people think he's a bit much.
Yeah, I wrote that one down too.
Followed by he was involved in a play that had full nudity, and that's the last time he got to direct the school play. Just chef's kiss. Outstanding stuff. Ryan did win the battle. I had Ryan ahead on my scorecard. You?
Yeah, definitely. Because the village people and the smoked salmon joke, those two were my favorite jokes of the battle.
Yeah. And I love the fact that he went for it with the you look like you're operating on 80% of the recommended skin, and like nobody there got it, and I heard an audible what out of you. Like we were all like, what does that mean? But I guess you earn the cachet when you've hit like 20 home runs in the battle. You can get away with some bullshit. Yeah. The Sixers are down 28 points. They're down 28 fucking points. The season is over, so I need a really fun battle to make me really happy and to turn this frown upside down. And fortunately, we got it this week. For all the talk in the last few episodes about how LA has not been producing in the belly room for the Roast Battle League standings, we came into this week in 5th place in the U.S. 5 points later, LA is back on top of the U.S. standings. And it took a hell of a battle to get us there. This is a dream match. This really is. I remember Joe Urell, who has been around forever. He's almost 50 battles in. One of the greatest to ever do it. And I remember asking him a couple years ago when I was booking battles, who do you want to face? And he said, Brad Williams. And I said, sure. Who do you actually want to face? Like, let's get a realistic... Because Brad is a national touring headliner. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could say I booked this battle. But when it was brought to my attention, when Joe was like, I want this to happen, I was just like, okay, let's be more realistic. And then Joe went to Brad on his own 2 years later and just said, hey, do you want to battle? And Brad said, yeah. And next thing you know... As the booker, I'm getting all this credit. It's like, I can't believe you got Joe Urell versus Brad Williams. Like, I didn't do shit. I didn't do anything. I just put it in the calendar. I had high expectations for this battle. It delivered on every possible level. Excited to watch it back. I know you judged it, so this is going to be your first time seeing it back since it happened.
Yeah.
This is the number one battle this week from Los Angeles. Joe Urell against Brad Williams. Here it is.
What can I say about Joe that his birth parents haven't already screamed into a pillow? Joe's birth mother was an accountant because she was really good at numbers, except giving him the right number of chromosomes.
Yeah, so big talk from a guy who looks like a taxidermy fetus. Brad used to play pee-wee hockey as a kid, and now as an adult, he still plays pee-wee hockey.
Don't be surprised by his jokes. Joe is a very intelligent man. Did you guys know he has 2 college degrees? Yeah. Amazing. You know what he got on his SATs? Drool.
Calm down, Peter. Oh, that's not. You look like you're getting your hat at Hot Topic, but your clothes at Baby Gap.
I mean, they're surprisingly affordable that way. Kid sizes. Joe Urell looks like Pete Davidson getting a blowjob from Joe Urell.
Okay, Bert, try hard.
He called me Vern Tryhard for those in the back.
Yeah, Brad's a USC grad whose father was a lawyer, so he's like a leprechaun living off his parents' pot of gold.
Wow. I really like the angle you took there, and by that I mean how you hold your wrists. Joe,
my arms are longer than you are.
explain this next joke. Joe, he's had a tough couple of weeks. He was recently separated from his beloved cat. And as you can tell, the depression is crippling.
That's really funny because Brad asked me to take a ride in my wheelchair, but I told him he's not tall enough. Brad has had a lot of success in Hollywood, and as you can see, he lets it all clearly go to his forehead.
All right, no matter what, Joe has done a fantastic job. This is the first time you can say that he held his own anything. He's so funny. He's so good. These two dwarf women are actually going to give him a blowjob after the show because they heard they'll grow if they eat a vegetable.
I just gotta say, Brad has a Chinese wife who fell in love with him because he looks like an egg roll, but that's not my thing. That was just a fact I wanted to share with you. Brad started a political comic. He doesn't care about the vaccine, but he does want a booster.
The two things that I want to say. Number one, about Brad specifically. The fact that he even did this is he didn't have to do this. He's out touring the country. He doesn't get paid for doing this.
Yeah.
It is strictly, he's a fan of the show. He loves the show. He loves the sport, and he wanted to do it against one of the best. If he had written jokes half this good and read them off a phone, nobody would have faulted him.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody would have been like, wow, it's really cool that he did it at all. And he did pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote incredible jokes, memorized them, which is oftentimes just as difficult as actually writing them.
Right.
People don't realize how much prep goes into like memorizing and all that shit.
Yeah.
And this might be a semantic argument. I kind of went back and forth with somebody the night of the battle, but I will maintain he did not have one wheelchair joke in there. He mentioned that Joe was crippled, and he said he got drool on the thing, and his parents screamed into a pillow, and he looks like Pete Davidson getting a blowjob from Joe Urell. Not one of those is a wheelchair joke.
Interesting.
To the point where Joe had that fire wheelchair rebuttal ready. He's not tall enough to ride. And he almost didn't get to use it. He used it on what was, frankly, in my mind, not a wheelchair joke. I'm glad he did, because it was great, and it was wheelchair adjacent.
Right.
But for Brad to have enough respect for it to be like, I'm going to do 5 non-wheelchair jokes. They're going to be insanely good. I'm going to commit them all to memory. He didn't have to do any of that. I was blown away by the respect he showed the show in the effort and preparation.
Absolutely.
The second thing I want to say is win, lose, or draw, regardless of who I thought won. And in the moment, I did think Brad won, and I might still slightly edge it to him. You know, for years, people have talked about like the Mount Rushmore, who's on the Mount Rushmore of roast battle. And I'm biased towards that because I think I'm one of them, frankly. But I always, thank you. I always said it was me and Keith Carey, and then the other 2 spots, there were like 15 people, and you couldn't possibly pick between them. I've seen enough. Like, Joe Urell is up there now. There's no way he's not. His battles, are remarkably consistent. They're always entertaining. They're always incredible. He always prepares. He has the jokes. He has the rebuttals. He takes all the punches and strides. He takes on all comers, all opponents. The biggest argument for him over like a me or a Keith is like post-pandemic, Keith and I have sort of slowed the pace a little bit. We're working on other things and like we're still popping up here and there and doing. Joe has not slowed the pace. The entire time he has been kicking ass for 7, 8, 9 years now. And, you know, I just want to make sure that I get this on record. Like, I think Joe might have a legitimate claim as the greatest to ever do it at this point, just based on body of work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also in terms of like just the way that Joe carries himself outside of the stage, he's the most humble. There's no people that he feels like he's better than. You when you speak to Joe, like he doesn't look down on anybody. Like just the way that he's so humble and he's so kind and he will take time to speak to anybody. And it's like, it's that like his confidence yet like humble attitude that like it is so inspiring to see because it's like he could be a total dick to people if he really wanted to. Like he has the skill to back it up, but he doesn't. Like he helps everybody that is willing to, you know, he puts his time into anyone that's, I don't know. I'm just like obsessed with Joe.
For sure. Like, yeah, Joe's the kind of guy so like, if you said, hey, can I send you some jokes? Look over them. Tell me what you think. What are your favorites? Like, he's always there for that. He's really, truly an ambassador for the sport and one of the few people that you could count on 100% of the time to, I mean, I can't remember the last battle he had that wasn't excellent. There was a lot of talk. A lot of people would say him versus Robin Tran was the best battle we've ever had. I think a lot of people, myself included, would say this was better than that one. He was the first champion when we came back from the pandemic. Him versus Paige Wesley was the first title match. It was one of the best title matches we've ever had. Then he lost it to Omid Singh in an even better match. He has so many classics under his belt. He always delivers, and just got to give all the props in the world to Joe on that one. Regardless of this battle, regardless of what his next one is, you know, he could never battle again, and he's on the list for me.
Yeah.
He's one of those.
Yeah, exactly. When I think about what is the best battle I've ever seen in person, all of them have Joe Urell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was thinking that too. When I was judging and I said, this is the best battle I've ever seen, I was thinking about Joe and Robin Tran.
Yeah.
And then I was like, actually, I don't know. This is on par, if not the best battle I've ever seen.
I think that's the standard, at least as far as 1-round battles go. The 3-round era was a little bit different because you're looking at, 10 jokes versus 5 or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of apples and oranges. But in this more modern era of like the 5-joke battles, those might be the top 2. I mean, there's other ones that are, competitive, but one thing I would say is this is the most accessible. To me, if you have a new roast battle fan and you want to bring them into the sport, this is the battle you show them.
Absolutely.
If they watch this and they don't like it, they're never going to like it.
They're never going to like it.
It's just not for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even like times where you think one of them's going to drop the ball, right? Like when Brad started doing the cat joke, the setup, I was like, I don't know if this one's going to hit. I think this might be where he drops the ball, but he didn't. He's like, the impression is crippling. And that was so funny to me that I was like, oh, actually, like he didn't drop the ball, and one of my favorite jokes, I mean, all of those jokes were so good, but when he said, do you want to know what Joe got on his SATs? Drool. So funny.
It was great. It was great. And also rhythmically, it was different than your average roast battle joke. So many of them follow the same setup punchline kind of like structure. And, the little pause before the punchline, the way that he set it up was just was crazy.
Yeah.
So,
even apart from like the writing of the joke, if you look at how they performed, like Brad is very present and like, with the audience. But Joe, in his delivery, as an audience member, I want to lean forward because I don't want to miss what he says.
Yeah.
Because like, you know what I mean? That is, so even their performance.
And they had each other's backs too. Like Brad celebrated every good joke Joe had against him. And at one point, Joe paused a little bit. I don't know if he was trying to sort of find the next joke in his head. And it was right after he said, "Thank you, Vern Tryhard." And Brad, I noticed this time, kind of glanced over at him and saw that he needed a beat. And he did the thing where he's like, he called me Vern Tryhard for the people in the back and just bought Joe an extra second. And in the room, I didn't even notice it because it was so flawlessly done. But then when you watch it back, like the Zapruder film, you're like picking up every frame and you're like, oh, That's teamwork, man. They're doing a dance up there. So
Yeah.
it was excellent. LA in the process moves back to the top of the standings. We do not have a graphic this week. I apologize. But as of right now, LA jumps back on top with 13 points, followed closely by New York with 12, and then Austin, the Bay Area, and Chicago all with 11. That race is incredibly tight. And then internationally, London jumps back in front. They have 17 points. Australia and Scotland tied for second with 14, and Barcelona 11. Now, I know, Kelsey, you haven't watched a ton of the season. I usually put people on the spot. Who do you think's going to advance? I'm just going to ask you this. As the champion, if you were to get a call from any one of these cities, where would you most want to battle? If you say the Bay Area, I'm going to fucking lose my mind.
Wait, where was the? Oh my gosh, Scotland's up there just because the way they say pedophile, but also who was the girl that said homeless toilet brush?
That was London. That was Shalaka Kurup in London.
London. I want to battle her. She's so good. I would want to hear what jokes she would come up with for me.
Callum, you hear that? Champ versus champ. Let's make it happen. Let's book it while she's still the champ. Because May 30th, Doug Fager. Who knows? That's a tough one.
Wow, Pat's very confident that I will no longer be champion.
I'm just saying, could go
soon.
either way. As the commissioner, I can't officially weigh in on things. You're both amazing. Looking forward to seeing it. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. That's everything for this week. RBL Weekly will be back next week with more great battles. Follow Kelsey Lane at...
I am Kelsey Lane.
I am Kelsey Lane. That's it for us. See you guys next week.